Data science and AI have the power to change the world, and the last decade alone has seen a significant rise in its use. The Alan Turing Institute, the National Institute for Data Science and Artificial Intelligence, says that the ethical development and deployment of these technologies are vital to the UK's future prosperity and societal well-being.
Dr. Jonathan Bright, welcome. Let's start with how can the UK stay a world leader in data science and AI research?
Thanks so much for having me. It's great to be here. I think there's a lot of things we can do. I think we need to keep attracting world-class talent, and that means making sure that systems for people to come here, visa systems, are accessible. It's also about building the investment, making sure that there's enough money going into research, building the facilities of the future that will enable us to do leading edge AI research, to make people keep thinking that if you're starting a career in AI, the UK is the place to do that.
It's interesting talking about people starting a career in AI, because a lot of people may be worried about AI taking over their careers. How would you say attitudes have changed towards AI?
I don't think that throughout history, there have been good examples of technology meaning, no one's employed anymore. Of course, there are sometimes certain sectors that lose out, but I think in general, AI will support people in work rather than causing massive job losses.
And that leads me to asking, what challenges do businesses face when implementing AI?
Technical change is really difficult. It is challenging. Changing the way that you do business is always going to be challenging. And making sure that you realise the benefits of a technological change, even when it's come into a new organisation, is also challenging. I think bringing your organisation with you, bringing the workforce with you, making sure the technology helps them rather than that something that's just being imposed from the top down is really important. And I focus a lot on the public sector. And I think that there's enormous potential for AI to help improve public service delivery, to make it more efficient, faster, and to support the work of public sector officials. One thing we're focusing on a lot right now is research into how generative AI, these are tools such as ChatGPT, can be used to support administrative and bureaucratic processes, to take the workload off frontline staff, such as doctors and teachers, people working in emergency services, many of whom say they're spending 20, 30, 40% of their week or even more on bureaucracy.
Sometimes tech can go wrong. Do you look into that as well?
Yeah, I think it's a critical issue. So one of the things, the online world, it's made up, of course, of content that's created by humans, or at least it was. Now, increasingly, we're moving into a world where AI is playing a part in content creation. It's going to be editing images or perhaps creating them entirely, creating text entirely. We're moving into a world of synthetic media. And so that means AI also has important potential safety consequences.
And how do you suggest we adopt AI in an ethical and responsible way?
There's all sorts of considerations there. We need to be conscious that that service has to work equally well for all citizens. There was the well-known example of the Passport Office using an AI tool to check your passport photo, to check whether it was suitable. It worked really well for people with white skin. It didn't work as well for people who didn't have white skin. And that's an area that can easily creep in if we just look at overall, is our system successful? Is it working well? I think we need to consider the needs of all the diverse users within those systems.
And how can we make sure we have a workforce to fit the skills of the future in regards to AI?
It's a really good question. I think one of the unique things about generative AI is that for the first time, really, we can interact with an AI tool in our own language. We don't need to be computer programmers to use AI to make it do something within our workflow. And there was a quote a couple of years ago by Andrew Karpathy saying the fastest growing new programming language is English. Everyone can now be a computer programmer. So I think enabling people to interact with AI, and thinking of it, if you're in the workforce, well, that's not just the job of the tech team, the data science team. That's actually something that I can do, is a really important thing. But that, of course, requires education. It requires a cultural mindset shift. And in the same way that 20 years ago we were training people to use the internet or to use email, I think that it's going to be an important part of the workforce going forward.
What do you think will be its most important use?
I mean, it's a massive question, because I think we're seeing a technology that can theoretically support almost every aspect of human life. One of the things that is at the forefront right now is, of course, applications in health. Just to give a very small example of that, child social worker, as many people know, in the UK, child social work is an enormously difficult profession. And one of the reasons that it's so difficult is because it's very time consuming to do all the reporting requirements around it. Now we're starting to see tools emerge where a social worker can record an interview, and that tool will automatically transcribe the interview into the reporting format and put that straight into the system it goes into, saving hours per day. And those sound like small things, but we saw these large language models, which are the basis of ChatGPT, go from something that academics found interesting and were played with in the labs and a few businesses saw an application for, to something that almost everyone could see an application for. So we've seen investment enormously increase, and so it's not even a prediction. We know it's going to happen. We will see these models get ever bigger and ever more capable of not just interacting in text. We can already see this, but interacting with, in spoken word, producing ever higher quality images, producing ever higher quality video.
Really interesting. Dr. Jonathan Bright, thank you very much.
Thanks so much for having me.